Welcome back to the channel. I'm doing something slightly different today, which is really nice. I'm in the woods, just outside Blandford Forum in Dorset. And I'm here to meet a woodsman who I've known for many years, Anthony Brown. And he's been supplying the coppiced hazel for the Durrington 68 Neolithic Hall Project. When I say he's been supplying it, I mean he's part of the Dorset Coppice Group, which have been supplying the material for us. And I thought it might be quite interesting to just show what it takes to get pliable hazel rods from the woods, the amount of effort that takes. I've done a bit of this in my past, as when I worked at the Ancient Technology Centre, we used to coppice coops of hazel every year for material. Yeah, I thought it'd be quite a different sort of video, show you the true side of working in the woods in the wintertime. Morning, morning. I'm good. Sorry, I've got a camera in my hand, just so. How you doing? What's this weather been like? Flipping horrific. So Anthony, so we're in the coppice. So where are we, first of all?
So this is Norton Woods.
Okay.
And Norton Woods is a Forestry Commission woodland, and they have they sell an area of woodland to us every year for us to coppice.
Yeah.
This is on a 7-year rotation.
Yeah.
This one I cut 7 years ago. Normally it was neglected before that, so it hadn't been touched for about 9 or 10 years. So this is the first restoration cut. The next one should yield a lot more rods than this one.
Yeah.
Better.
So when you got to this on the first pass, I presume it was overstood really thick.
Not really, no. It was about 9 or 10 years, so
okay.
It was good size. You know, they were all sort of like this. We
Yeah.
got a lot of hedging stakes out of it.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
not the weavers that we needed. The material we needed for weaving, like making hurdles or weaving continuous woven fencing.
Yeah.
So it was mainly larger material, which was used for hedging stakes and materials that are used to hold hedges up.
Yeah. And so the process, so the viewers are going to be really interested in,
Yeah.
You turn up, you've got your area. What do you call this area?
So this is a coop.
A coop. Yeah. Okay.
There's lots of other words for it in different parts of the country. A cant
Yeah.
is the other one. So we come in,
Yeah.
and what we do is we divide it up. There's 2 of us cutting this section. There's a chap cutting the other half of it. We come in, we fell the material, and we drift it. And there's a number of different ways you can do that, but I tend to drift it making a corridor. So if you look at the hazel here,
Yeah.
it's all drifted to one side. If I was cutting this material here, which I'm not, that's
Yes.
the next guys, I would drift that in the opposite direction to
Yes.
make a corridor down the middle.
Okay, so effectively you've taken this hazel, you've felled it and you've laid it in a drift. You can see it all
Yeah.
beautifully laid out
Yeah.
there, and that forms this corridor.
That's right,
running
yeah.
through the wood.
Yeah, and then I work through it. And if you look here, this is a pile that I've worked
Yeah.
and a pile I'm working.
Yes.
So you leave piles behind, which you are either going to use to make faggots or leave to cover the area to stop deer from grazing.
And explain a faggot.
Well, a faggot is a bundle of sticks, we actually make fascines technically, which is a 6-foot long bundle of sticks, which is 30 centimetres in diameter. And they're used for retention on riverbanks, traps silt, and stop riverbank erosion. That's how they're used.
So they're fascines, right?
A fascine is 6 foot long. A faggot is 3 foot long, and faggots were used for putting in ovens to flash heat them when there was bakeries in every village. The market for them is obviously not really there anymore, but occasionally you get a demand for them. They were also used under hay ricks to keep them off the ground, to stop the hay from rotting. So when you made a hay rick, you piled your hay up into a big pile, all your straw, and you would put faggots underneath it to season, but also to stop it from rotting on the floor.
Right.
So they were used in a number of different ways.
So you've got your pile, so you've coppiced your hazel, you've got your pile, you're processing it into faggots, fascines.
That's the ideal. Now there is a sort of a practice for spreading it around over the woods. That wasn't traditionally what was done. It was just burnt, and then this was left open. But we have problems with deer browse, and in certain areas they dictate that you spread the brash all over the floor to stop the deer from getting in, because they don't like their feet in it. Sometimes they put it on top of the stalls. Personally, I don't like to do that because it means the rods come out uneven.
I agree.
And that's not really good practice. Ideally, you clear everything out and then deal with the deer in another way, either by fencing or upping your shooting, essentially.
So it's interesting. Again, you've done this way more than me, but I've done a bit in the past, and it's interesting that the compromises between a kind of wood maintained for an ecosystem, for an environment, and actually a wood maintained for product, isn't there?
Well, the interesting thing is that they're not. The only reason that things are only maintained for conservation purposes is because the people can't find a market for the product. You know, the outcome is the same. We create the same benefit to the habitat. In fact, you could argue a better one, because we increase the density of the stalls, which changes the way in which the rotation works. From a conservation perspective, the coppice is a dynamic system, so it's changing. So you cut it down like this, and through its lifespan, you get different species come in until it's closed canopy and it's near the point of fell, when you only get certain woodland wildflowers in there, like bluebells and wood anemone and things like that. But prior to that, you go through all these different stages. There's get a lot of grass and species in here, rudderell weeds, while the coppice is establishing. So it's kind of a dynamic system, and that's why it's really useful for wildlife, really. So you get different layers in the woodland and all sorts of things. So it's useful from a conservation perspective. But we always say that a wood that stays is a wood that pays. So if you can make it commercially viable, it's more likely to get maintained in an appropriate way. And that's very much part of what we call Dorset Coppice Group advocates for, is this constant rotation. I mean, over there, if you look over there, you can see the wispy tops of the growth that we cut 2 years ago. So in a year, it puts on about 6 foot of growth. 2 years, that 6 foot goes a little bit higher, and then it starts to bulk out. And then over the period of time, the canopy gets tighter and tighter until it's closed. And we cut an area every 7 years on a rotation. The rotations are patched around the woodland, so there's never two next to each other. And that creates this mosaic of different habitats, different layers within the canopy.
And so I think it'd be really interesting, because people, I think this is the classic case, isn't it? Is that people see this stuff, they see a hurdle in a shop or in a garden centre. There is no comprehension of what it takes to achieve that hurdle.
Now, I mean, obviously, the hurdles, there's a lot of material that isn't of good enough quality to make hurdles out of, and we have to find uses for that. And I do things like continuous woven fences. I build roundhouses, and those form the woven walls or a woven fence, which I put into gardens. That doesn't need to be as good quality as the hazel that you would use for a hurdle. So I have to go through, cut it out, grade it all. You can see the piles here. And to give you some idea, out of this stuff here, which I've graded from the pile that was here, this pile here, the materials I've got here, that is waste, so that can't really be used for anything other than kindling. So my son has a little bit of a kindling business, and I cross-cut that for him, and then he splits it. This here is
but it's interesting, sorry, just to go back, so although that's waste in terms of coppice, it's not waste, is it? It's fuel.
Well, everything can be used.
But so in terms of,
and traditionally the underwood would have been a really good source of fuel for commoners. They would have been allowed to take the underwood. So,
Yeah.
you know, when we think about our lovely firewood cords at home with the lovely wedges and all, I never have any firewood like that.
No.
Because mine's all hazel or old gnarly bits of hedge.
Yes. So waste, inverted
Waste.
commas, yeah.
This is to be used for, this is to go to the project that you're working on.
Yeah.
And as with the next one. So this
Yeah.
is not good enough for hurdles.
No.
And because, and this here, these are pea sticks,
Yes.
which are sold for gardens.
Yes.
I'm not going to put prices on everything at the moment.
No,
but I can
that's
tell you
fine.
how much everything's worth if you want. That's one rod there is
Yes.
suitable for a hurdle.
Yes. That's
So-
a really good comparison, isn't it? So,
Now, the reason why that's the case is because the stall that I'm processing here is
yeah.
right on the edge of the woods.
Yeah.
And when you're on the edge of the woods, the hazel doesn't grow as nicely as it would do in the centre of the coop. The
Yes.
sticks aren't as straight.
Yes.
So that's why there's only one rod from here. From most of these piles, I'll get maybe 5 to 10 rods, which are usable for a
Yeah.
hurdle quality.
But it's interesting. So you know, again for the viewer, so you've been processing that pile.
Yeah.
You've got grades of things that can be woven,
Yes.
especially into our Neolithic project.
Absolutely.
And this is your top quality.
And that's not brilliant.
I was going to
No,
say, and it's not perfect, is
got
it? Exactly.
It's got a little,
But
little
it's
nub on the side, but I can split that
Yeah,
into a
but
rod
it's a
for
really good example of
Yeah.
the sheer labour and material processing required to
absolutely.
get a decent weaver for a hurdle.
Now,
yeah.
obviously, with the quality, as we increase the quality, this is by over and above how it was before.
Yeah.
When we first cut this, the quality was really poor. It's improved, and it will get better the next time we cut it by increasing the stall density. So we try and make more trees, and we do that by layering, which I'll show you a bit later.
Yeah.
The layering helps to increase the number of stalls, and therefore you get more rods. And those, if you have more rods, they grow straighter and truer with less crown on them.
Yeah.
So they're more useful, more usable. So that there could be used as a gad.
So explain a gad.
So you might get a length like this.
Yeah.
That's a bit wonky, but you can split them up and make them, cut these into 30-inch lengths.
Yeah.
And then they can be used, then they're called gads. And gads are used for making thatching spars. So there is a market for that if you can sell the sticks.
Yeah.
They will go to somebody else to make the spars. The spars, I can make spars, but I can't make them fast enough to make any money.
To make any money, yeah.
So it's a lot of the things about repetition.
Yes. And
if you-
spars are the split hazel that gets pushed into a roof to hold the thatch in place.
That's right, yeah. So this is a really large stall. You can tell it was quite overstood because of the size of the cuts here. We didn't have anything growing here.
Yes.
In fact, there was an elder somewhere around here which I've cut down. But what we do is we cut most of the way through the stem, about 4/5 of the way through,
Yeah.
and then it bends over, and this stays alive. And down here where it's buried, under here, it will sprout new growth.
Yes.
So that layer, and then you'll make a new stall there, which will then grow on. And then subsequent rotations, that will produce some decent rods.
So effectively, you've taken an existing hazel stool.
Yeah.
You've is that a pleaching cut?
It is a pleaching cut, just as you would do with a hedge.
Yeah.
But it's
you've
more
kind
like in Dorset hedging, where it's very low.
So you've trimmed one of the stems, one of the rods. You've
We cut
bent
down,
it over,
bend it over,
Yeah.
cut the end off.
Making sure that it's not. You haven't cut this because that's where the sap needs to still exist
Yeah,
and live.
in here, yeah.
And then basically it's pegged into the ground there.
That's right, yeah.
And that will now grow a new hazel stool.
Well, I've not pegged it. I've weighed it down with some old logs.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it's the same principle. This stool, you have to, when you do this, you should normally pick the nicest stools to do this from. So
Right.
if a stool produces particularly straight rods,
Yeah.
that would be a better one to layer from.
Yes.
But I didn't really have much choice here. So
Yes. But again, it's probably going to be a real surprise to people watching this that what you're doing effectively is carefully modifying the wood, aren't you?
that's right. Yeah.
Where there's a gap, where there's no hazel,
Yep.
you're growing new hazel by taking it from an existing
right.
stool.
Yeah,
and that means that you can increase the density of the stools across the wood, doesn't it?
That's right, yeah, yeah. So you get a nice closed canopy. Get in there. All right. Doing a cracking job, mate.
Okay. So what are you up to?
So I'm going to make a fascine,
Yeah.
just to show you how they work. People do this in different ways. This is just how I do it.
Yeah.
But I've got this brake here, a brake being something that you use to make stuff.
Yeah.
And I keep my string in a container. I always use biodegradable string.
Yeah.
Just because it's what I do.
That's a
But
good
this
idea.
is so you keep your spool in there and it keeps it dry.
Yeah.
And stops it from getting everywhere. So I put that in, and and then we just grab material really, and we just lay it into the brake.
I'll go this end so I don't get in the way.
Put a few longer ones in to start with.
And are you making sure all the butt ends are in one way, or are you?
Yeah, I always put the butt ends either way. It needs to be spread evenly across the form.
Yeah.
And this makes a 30 centimetre diameter piece of a 30 centimetre diameter fascine, 6 foot long.
Yeah.
We just put all sorts of material in it, and then and that just
Again, it's interesting. I mean, I'm familiar with this sort of scene, but many people not have a clue. They'll assume that this is all done by machine somehow.
I'm not sure this. I think these you might be able to mechanise this one, but
Yeah.
it's still got to be loaded by hand.
Yeah.
Onto the and people do make all sorts of contraptions to press down the hazel once it's in the brake.
Yes.
Well, I just put my body weight on top of it, and it seems to work all right.
Well, I mean, that's a huge amount of body weight.
92 kilos. It's not that bad.
Well, that's lighter than my body weight. We've been joking at work. I keep saying I've got moons orbiting me at the moment. I've got my own gravitational pull.
What I do is the work I do is physical.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
You
Yeah, it's one of those jobs where you can almost get away with eating whatever you want to eat. 'Cause
Almost.
You're going to burn. Yeah.
I used to be able to. I think it's
So true.
now. You could fall into the false assumption that we do everything like this with just hand tools, but we don't.
No.
So this, when I've finished it, I will trim it off with hand tools,
Yeah.
but normally I'd use a chainsaw
Yes.
and just trim the ends off, because it's all about speed really. And I have a
Yeah.
little electric chainsaw, which I just whip the ends off with.
Yes. And I'm glad you've said that, because again, this is not you trying to, this is not like a sort of living history museum where you're trying to recreate like a glorious, warm and fuzzy feeling about working in the woods. This is the reality of working in the woods.
Well, it is, yes.
And you've got to be efficient, haven't you?
Absolutely. And you know, I dare say there'll be people watching this that will see that I'm being not efficient in certain ways.
Yeah, of course.
But you have to remember, I don't make many of these.
Yeah.
And it's a lot to do with repetition.
Yeah.
I made 40 of these this year.
Yes.
And there are people out there that make thousands of these every year.
Yeah.
So they have different ways of doing things, which
Yeah.
will make it faster, because with repetition comes efficiency.
Yeah. And it's that specialisation thing again, isn't it? Is you suspect in the medieval period that everything would be specialised in a woodland like this. There would be people doing particular jobs at really fast, like you were saying about the spar maker, for example.
Yeah.
And you would specialise, and it would just be more efficient and therefore more cost effective. It does come down to money, doesn't it? Time is literally money.
I think compared to the way we do stuff now, I think they would have all have been a bit more. There would have been specialisms, but there also been a massive generalism as well. So
Yeah.
they could all do everything.
Yes.
But you know that when you do something, it takes a little while to get up to speed.
Yes.
So your speed comes with doing it over and over again.
Yes.
So I make hurdles, and you know, if I get large orders of hurdles, and some years I do, my speed increases.
Yeah.
And then when I get back on it again, I slow down.
Of course.
But I still got all the techniques. It's just takes a while. And if you've been doing it since you were like 14 years old, 13 or 14 years old, or even younger than that, you would be so on it.
Oh yeah.
It's like a muscle memory.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So remembering the pattern of a hurdle, or
yeah, and again,
Yeah.
it equates again to this Neolithic project that we're doing at the moment. Is, you know, I've used stone tools more than most people have used stone tools doing real jobs.
Yes.
But I fully recognise I'm nowhere near the efficiency of a Neolithic with a stone tool.
because they've always used it.
And that's all they knew, you know.
Yeah.
And it's when you've grown up with something, and that's all you know, and you've got a tool that's been made for you, or you've made your own tool that's the right weight
Yeah.
for you, then it just becomes efficient. And yeah, exactly. It's about doing it day in, day out. And
The other thing is, Luke, I think we're past our prime as
Yeah.
well, unfortunately. If you're a 25-year-old and haven't got a huge parasite load
yeah,
in the Neolithic,
Yeah.
you know, if you're a 50-year-old with a high parasite load and a kind of
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
various injuries you've acquired from having a really active life and
yeah.
poor first aid care,
But it's true. I mean, you know,
you would not be doing it.
we are well past it. I mean,
Absolutely.
we are. Look at us.
Long in the tooth.
But actually, I mean, it's true. You know, even in the medieval period, we would be old timers.
Yes. Well, we probably are now, but we just don't realise it.
So true.
No one wants to admit that.
Yeah. Okay, so you're putting your body weight on, cinching these springs.
Yeah. And I do a butcher's knot.
Yeah.
There is a faster way of doing this, which I've been shown, but I can never get the faster way to work, where you wrap it around your hand.
All right.
But I just do put a twist in.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That gets laid over.
Yeah.
This goes through there.
Yeah.
Pull it like that, and then
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Locks in nicely. Yeah.
it does. It holds it.
Yeah.
I got a Thatcher friend who calls this a farty knot. 'Cause
Oh,
if
really?
if you do it fast, if you do it tight enough, it
It
makes a
makes the
farting noise
Yeah,
when you
right.
pull it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right, so we got this long.
Good hands. Good hands. It's the hands of somebody who works.
All right, so that's it. Now, normally I'd get my chainsaw
Yeah.
and trim off the two ends.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I would like to try and get across to people is there
Yeah.
is actually a market value for these things.
Yeah.
So if a faggot or fascine like this, a fascine like this one, will sell for £8 to £10.
Yeah.
So, you know, there is, and you saw how long it took me to make that. Obviously, there's a lot of processing that goes on beforehand.
Yes.
But for something that would ordinarily be a waste material that would be burnt or spread about, it's a very good way of making some money out of what
Yeah.
would essentially be waste.
Yes.
Coppice workers are very guarded often about how much money they make out of
Yes.
an area like this.
Yes.
And I'd probably be in trouble if I told you how
You
much
know
we
what?
make.
I'm not even going to ask. I think, and to be honest, Anthony, I think whatever figure you now said, now
Yeah.
that people have got an inkling of the amount of labour and
Yeah.
work involved and time and effort, I think you could almost say anything, and
Well,
people would go,
at
God,
the end
yeah,
of the day, I can tell you now that it washes its face. So
yes, yeah.
I earn the money that I put in.
yes,
So, but only on a very subsistent sort of wage. It's
Yes.
not you know, you're not going to make your fortune doing this, but you can make a living out of it.
yeah,
These bits that I've got here will just be you put in the next one, but
yeah.
that'll be that's
There it is.
ready to go. There you go.
Great,
Fascine.
lovely.
So just to draw your attention to this break at the first. So
Yeah.
there's another break. This one is used for cutting gads.
Ah,
So each gad is put on here. It's looked at to see if there's any knots in it. Put on. The end is sawn off.
yeah,
And they're bundled in bundles of 25. We sell 25, sell them in bundles of 25. And all this wood here is stuff that could be used. It probably needs grading again,
yeah.
but quite a lot of that will be used for gads.
And in terms of spars from a gad, would that be quarter split?
Well,
Or it depends, I suppose.
It depends on the diameter.
Yeah.
That one there, you probably get four to six out of that.
Okay. Yeah.
So the bigger ones, you're going to get 8 out of them.
Yeah.
But in order to make a living, a guy has to split out 1,000 a day.
Wow.
Yeah, and he'll only get 200 quid for those. 200 to 250 quid. Okay, so here is what I do when it's carried up. So it's graded into piles, and I try and some of these rods could be used for a multiple of purposes, but I have to make a decision.
Yeah.
So the little ones here will be these. Often I can weave these into panels, so I'll actually make frames.
Yeah.
And then weave sticks into the frame. Don't make many of those, and I only make them to order. Some of them are in situ, and some of them are made off-site and then transported to the site. So that's I use Douglas fir for the frame, and then I just weave into the frame. Others are used in fencing, so I can use them in continuous fencing, but they don't last as long because they're smaller.
Yeah.
They're useful under wattle and daub though. So if you're doing a wattle and daub wall, it doesn't matter how big the stuff is. It's really there just as an instrument to hold the clay. So it does work for wattle and daub walling. So some of those will go to the Stonehenge project. This is the larger ones, which I've got earmarked for the Stonehenge project and also continuous woven fencing.
Yeah.
They're not. Some of these are borderline good enough for splitting for hurdle rods. So some people would split that one. Most of that one would be split and used for a hurdle. Personally, I don't have many orders, so I try and I earmark better quality stuff.
Yeah.
These ones here are again for the Stonehenge project. These are fatter ones.
Oof, they look beautiful.
Which
this is for our roof.
This is for the roof.
Yeah. Look at this.
That's there.
That's good. Happy to see those.
Yes, so they'll be really useful for the
amazing.
roof. These are hurdle rods, and that's both the uprights in the hurdle and the weavers.
Yes.
So the bigger ones like this one will be used for an upright in a hurdle.
Yes.
Split down the middle, or if it's slightly thinner and very straight, will be for the side rods, because you do round ones on the edges and split ones in the middle. The others will be split into hazel rods. And these are what we call twilly rods, which are the ones that you use at the base and at the top of the hurdle to start and finish the hurdle. There's way too many of those. I always end up with way too many of those.
They're quite nice though.
I also sometimes use those for binders on hedges, but these are a little narrower. There's actually a load of materials here that you won't see because they've already been shipped off the site.
Of course, yeah.
So there's lots of hedging stakes. So I've probably taken about 500 hedging stakes out of here already. And also binders for the tops of hedges. So that's the woven bits on the top of certain styles of hedge laying. And they'll be long and thin like this, but slightly fatter, about as fat as my thumb.
Yeah.
And they make a really nice weave at the top of the hedge.
Yeah. And again, for the sort of viewer, I suppose, it's just interesting for you to talk through and to see the systematic processing and organisation of the product from the coop.
Yeah.
It's not just wandering into the wood with a sharp tool, taking a bit of hazel and doing something with it. You're being as efficient as you possibly can be with that coop and making sure you're getting everything.
I'm sure some would argue that I could be more efficient.
You know what?
There are different ways of doing things, and this is the important thing. This is what I'm comfortable with, and it means that I have a mental, because I'm not here as often as some coppice workers, I have a mental picture in my head of what materials I have. So if someone orders some materials from me, I know that I can supply it to them. I don't have to go in and go, I'll go and check next time. Yeah. I can tell whether I'm going to be able to do or not just by knowing that this is here, by having a mental picture of it. Yeah. Other people work in messier ways, that could be less time consumptive. But I find that this works really well for me, and I get more material out this way than I do doing it other ways. A lot of people drift in long rows.
Well, that was interesting, wasn't it? It's fascinating to talk to somebody who really knows and clearly loves what he does. The amount of knowledge and skill that Anthony was showing then in the way he thinks about the woods and the refinement in how he processes the woods and thinks about how every single part of it can be used is really impressive to see. And I think that will have given you a better insight into where the materials come from that we're using on this Neolithic construction. When we buy materials from the woods, it doesn't mean that somehow miraculously they materialize on site. Somebody like Anthony is in the woods, working hard, sweating, making that timber from trees that are standing into lengths of wood that we can use for a purpose. Great stuff. Stay tuned. See you next time.